Well, there we are. 2 games down, 1 draw and 1 win. We look like we might be okay in this division. Coventry and Bristol City were the 7th and 8th top-scoring teams in the Championship last season. Coventry were 2nd for shots per goal, and both Jokeresh and Weimann were in the top 10 goal scorers last season. So these were both solid attacking teams we faced, and we're not going to face strikes like this every weekend. We won't be up against the sort of attacks as effective as these two most of the time, so that should give us hope. So what to expect when Queen's Park Rangers visit this weekend? Well, QPR did not renew manager Mark Warburton's contract at the end of last season after they finished 11th, 1 place above Coventry. Having been 2 points off top at the halfway point, Warburton went on to win just 3 of the last 16 games in the division. Instead, they have appointed Michael Beale, Gerrard's assistant at Rangers and Aston Villa. He was a name touted for us back when Roy Keane was taking up all the headlines, but this is his first head coach appointment. So, how will they line up? Well, even the Super Hoops don't know, and yes, I agree, that is a stupid nickname. So far this season, against 2 of what many would have imagined were the stronger sides in the division, they've played 2 completely different formations. Against Blackburn, they fielded 3-4-2-1, and against Middlesbrough, they fielded 4-2-3-1. The only thing that seems certain is that Lyndon Dykes will start up front on his own. On Tuesday, QPR put in an uninspiring performance against League One Charlton to be knocked out of the League Cup on penalties. They lost out on about half the data points, notably possession, shots in the box, and all areas of passing. So what? We lost on Wednesday to League One opposition as well. The difference is Beale started 5 of his first team back 6 in this game. Beale also has to contend with injuries to his attacking options and a relatively large transfer of personnel in the squad over the closed season, as well as being new to all of it himself. QPR were 9th in goals per game last season, but are generally quite defensive, and a lot about the way they play looks like us. We're similar in possession loss, long balls, and cross success. They do dominate us in terms of passing and pass accuracy, but that's pretty much every team in the league does this. At 66% pass accuracy, we really need to dramatically improve here. It's about 10% below the league average last year, and there's simply no way that we can continue to get the ball away as much as we do and expect to be okay in this league. There are, however, areas we do dominate against QPR. We're one of the best teams for shots per game and QPR are one of the weakest. We're 3rd for shots on target and QPR 20th. We have more shots in the box and more corners than they do. This then would seem to suggest a greater attacking impetus and threat from us. They operate a zonal defence system similar in fashion to Coventry, but they do a bit better at marking up the runners left over. They do struggle against attacks at the back post and height in general though, and the aerial battle is one I think we have the chance to do quite well in. Our crossing is considerably better than theirs, and the data on aerial duels shows us winning significantly more than them and losing far fewer. This will be a priority area of attack for us then. Stewart might thrive here. QPR also seem to cope poorly with runners between the lines, whilst manning a very heavily numbered defensive formation like here. This is just the sort of position Pritchard likes to operate in, so some areas for us to target. The Super Hoops shipped out 6 players in the summer, and it has been hard to discern the effect this has had on the team. I don't think that their good start, however, will be sustained. 4 of the top 6 goal scorers of last season are unavailable. Top scorer Andre Gray has moved on, as has Charlie Austin. Charlie Willock, striker, and Lou Amos, an attacking central midfielder, are both injured for this weekend's fixture. These losses then account for half of all Queen's Park Rangers goals last season. Half of all of them. This is great news for us. So, who are the threats that do remain? Well, Saturday is a modern-day battle of the shirts for 2 competing Scotsmen. Scottish international forward Lyndon Dykes will lead the line for QPR. His goal last week against Borough represented the end of a 13-game goalless run stretching back to the end of January for him. Ross Stewart will be itching to outperform Dykes on Saturday and promote his abilities. The diminutive Moroccan international benchwarmer Elias Chair is technically a very skilled player and can play out wide or in an attacking midfield role. Certainly on the left, he would give Gooch something to think about. The next most potent goal threats are centre-halves. Seriously. Robert Dickey and Jimmy Dunn. They scored 6 goals between them last season. Dunn did score against Borough last week, but I wouldn't say that crosses or set pieces were a frightening strength for QPR. Last season, they were amongst the lowest ranked teams for aerial battles, headed shots and goals. And this season, whilst 80% of their play does come down the flanks, that's more than us, by the way, less than 50% of their shots are from the middle, or zone 17. This is a very low figure that places them 22nd out of 24 in the league on this metric, so it seems that they're not particularly effective in this. There really are not many other threats. There's Albert Adoma, who's had only 60 minutes this season, but will likely play because of the injuries in front of him, not really much of a threat. Olamide Shapido, who may start on the wing for them, has spent the second half of last season on loan to Sheffield Wednesday and couldn't get a game for them in League One. Then there's Andre Dozel, who will almost certainly start for them on the wing. He played 28 games last season and failed to score. The more I look at this, the more I'm convinced that this is a winnable game for Sunderland. So what team will Neil pick? He generally likes to try to balance defensive requirements with attacking needs in each player rather than over the team. Given QPR's propensity to attack down the flanks, I can see that it might mean retained places for Gooch and Neil in slightly misused roles of right wing-back and central defensive midfielder. They do have better stats in defence, whilst combining some better offensive stats for their roles than anybody else available. It's not an ideal solution, and I'd like to think that Neil will feel he's earned the right to have a go at this game. So we might see him select a back four to counter the extreme wing play of QPR. In any case, a flat back four would enable a genuine right winger to play, perhaps Roberts, who is surely in contention to run at Nico Heimalainen, who, due to injury, is QPR's only recognised left back and by all accounts was very poor against Charlton midweek. So we should be attacking him on Saturday. I also thought that Elliot Embleton was unlucky not to keep his place last week after little attacking contribution for periods of the Coventry game from Dan Neil and some weak defensive work. Perhaps Embleton will form part of a more aggressive team selection this weekend, who knows. Embleton was by far our most accurate passer against Coventry, clocking nearly 90% success rate. Up front, surely, given the power, work rate and impressive display of the SAS last week, both Sims and Stewart will start, especially given their aerial threat and the possible weakness of QPR here. Overall, we look dangerous going forward so far this season, but a little weak at the back. Neil is aware of this and has selected teams accordingly to try to cover this. But on Saturday, we have an opportunity to take the game to a team who struggle with our form of attack and who are lacking much of their own firepower in threat. There seems no better time for Neil to be a little more adventurous in seeking the win. Stewart to score first and Sunderland to win.